My biggest win with the journey has been that inner peace and just that fundamental knowing that I've got full purpose and a great deal more happiness.
That was amazing for me and actually for my whole family. Allowed us to keep this open mind on life and to open to all the opportunities.
I have so much more freedom and self-connection and health and vibrancy. I just feel more alive.
The journey helped me to understand what my emotions are, not to be scared of them.
It changed my life. It cleared all blocks and brought into my consciousness what my heart's desire was.
Now I feel my life is easier. I feel stronger, feel what I feel and find a new solution.
To be free from the burden on my shoulders. I live in the moment now and I'm open to my emotions from the highest to the lowest.
Until the journey, I didn't really know that I could get to the same depths without using any substance. It's getting easier and easier to connect to the deepest part of myself.
Probably the biggest improvement is my inner life or my inner freedom to be as myself, in myself, not being a victim of circumstances and the other people.
The journey has really been a second chance in life for me. Having permission to dive deep and find out who the real authentic me was and just to be that person has just been wonderful.
When you listen to yourself and when you really touch your soul, something magical happens.
Life is different because of the journey. I feel I have all the tools I need to face whatever life throws at me. Life has become fun.
My biggest win was healing a broken heart, and not once, many times. I would never have been able to be in the position that I am in now had it not been for the journey.
Befriending myself in really accepting who I am, that I am perfectly imperfect and I don't need fixing.
I've gained so much. So there is no one big win. If it had to be named as one thing, I would just say it's life-changing.
It's changed my world. It's changed my life. It's changed me. And it's allowed me to be open and vulnerable and completely transparent.
My biggest win as a result of using the journey would definitely be my ability to network and expand upon the goals that I've had for such a long period of time.
My biggest win since attending the Journey Intensive has been finding myself. It has been healing, transforming.
I am just so much more receptive and open to whatever God has planned for me. At the very core of me, being able to experience that peace has been priceless.
Thank you very, very much, and welcome everyone to our first session with Brandon for the Trauma Awareness Week. We are showing these endorsements, these testimonials, first of all, to give everybody time to come into the room, to find your place, or to find us on YouTube, find us in Facebook, and also to hear that it's possible to heal. That I know that probably many of the people who shared weren't aware that what they were dealing with was trauma. So, and from where they are speaking now is being free from it. And so today, Brandon is bringing awareness to trauma, what it is, how it happens, what effect it has inside of us, how it blocks us, how it can show up. And so she will kind of expand on it, and she will also do a guided introspection. So if you are here, most likely you've been on the Facebook group, so you've seen my face around. For those of you who haven't, I'm Gabby Burt. I'm director for the Journey, and I've been with Brandon and the Journey for 27 years now, and it's been a rich time. It's been a fulfilling time, and I'm very, very grateful for everything that I have learned for myself, and also everything that I have witnessed in other people around the world. And so this is just a heartfelt invitation to join us, to really kind of take the lid off trauma and be aware that there is a powerful tool out there with which we can work to help us clear it and heal it completely. So let me bring Brandon Bays into the room and let's get started. There's no reason to delay this any further. And I can see that she's here, so she just needs to turn her camera on. There she is. Welcome, Brandon. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight and for sharing in this Trauma Awareness Week, the beginning of Trauma Awareness Week. And I will come on the other side of it, and so give some guidelines and next steps after today. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, a heartfelt welcome and thank you, Gabby, to everyone, and namaste. And I first wanted to say how grateful I am and also honored I am that so many of you took the time to share the different versions of trauma that are showing up in your life and how that's impacted your life and how it's prevented you from moving forward in different areas of your life. And so I was very moved to read all of that. And I always try to take these sessions and build them around what was shared, what you came up with, so that they're very organic and they're meaningful for all of you. And so we're having this 3 sessions today, tomorrow, and the following day. And each day we're going to be diving in deeper into this whole topic of trauma, which is such a big buzzword these days. And everywhere you look, it's all over the web, and people are becoming aware that, in fact, nearly all of us have some sort of trauma stored inside. And one woman was sharing that when she was 14 years old, she watched her brother, who was 12 years old, get killed in a car crash. And she felt that somehow she was responsible because she wasn't in the right place at the right time. Then in 21 to 23, 3 of her other brothers died. Then she also gave birth to a smiling, wonderful son who had cerebral palsy, and he died at the age of 23. And so she was sharing how she has these stacked traumas, one after another, and for sure they're having a big impact on her emotional life, on her physical well-being. Now, there's another woman who was sharing how she was in a marriage, a beautiful relationship for 6 years, and full of love and depth, and unfortunately it ended very badly. And somehow she's felt blocked from really moving forward past that. And that is indeed how trauma affects us. In the journey and scientifically, what is known as trauma is when you feel a strong emotion, and it can be something that happens physically. You can be in a car crash, you can have a marriage breakdown, you can have the loss of a loved one, you can have your house burned down, all kinds of situations. You can end up in lockdown and not having the coping skills. And scientifically, what's called trauma is when we feel the strong emotion that happens in those circumstances. And we were none of us given any manuals. How do you deal with these huge traumatic experiences? Automatically, involuntarily, there is a shutdown. And when this shutdown happens, it releases into our bloodstream a quantifiable biochemistry, which will go to certain cellular locations and block those cells, rendering those cells incapable of communicating with the rest of the cells in the body. And if over time illness happens, well, obviously it is likely to happen where the cells are blocked. Now, the unfortunate thing about these cell memories is we've felt this strong emotion and we've repressed it. We've gone into shock, essentially. And when shock happens and it releases that biochemistry and it goes to cellular locations, before that cell generation dies, it passes on its programming. It passes on its consciousness to the next cell generation. So the next cell generation is born as an exact replica of the previous cell generation. And this trauma, these old buried cell memories where we didn't have the coping skills, and so it's gotten stored inside the body physiologically, gets passed on from one cell generation to the next. And then often when we get older, it can show up as all kinds of emotional reactions or physical illnesses, where in fact, there are 3 hospitals in Israel where after someone, let's say they've undergone a heart operation, they'll go into a recovery center for a week, and they'll be using the journey method to uncover those exact cell memories, the stored, buried trauma that got passed on from one cell generation with the other. And they found that when people clear that trauma, then the chances of the illness coming back really are hugely, astronomically reduced. The same thing in the cancer center, where when they've undergone their treatment, they then go into a recovery center where they undergo the journey, which takes you on a journey inside your body to get access to these old stored traumas, these old cell memories. We didn't have the coping skills. Of course, what did we do? We shut down. That biochemistry is released, being passed on from one cell generation to the next. And even in the place where they have multiple sclerosis, they're getting to the emotional root cause of what is co-creating physical illness. Now, it doesn't always end up that this emotional trauma and physical trauma ends up manifesting as disease. Sometimes it can manifest as feeling incapable of being in a conversation with someone where there's conflict happening. It can come in the instance of this one woman who talked about not being able to move forward in relationship because the trauma was stored there and it's blocking her. Others of us, we get triggered. There can be an emotional situation where our fathers yelled at us and we're so critical that as soon as a male raises his voices and is critical, immediately there's this shutdown and panic inside. And what's happening is these old traumas are being re-triggered. Now, one woman was sharing that she didn't feel that she grew up with trauma per se, but she felt that her parents, that somehow they'd passed on their emotional trauma to her. And this is absolutely correct. There is a whole field of epigenetics where these cell memories are known to be passed down through our DNA. And it goes between 4 and 6 generations. And so you may find yourself, even though you haven't had specific instances where you've had this trauma that we've been speaking about, where you've lost a loved one, you've lost a job, where you've had mental abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, where you've had, you lacked coping skills. You may not have had big traumas happen where you lost your livelihood, you lost your home. And yet, this old trauma is being passed down generationally from your parents and grandparents. And so it puts a lid over you being able to move forward in your life and get stored in your body as if it's actually happened to you. And you find yourself responding in ways that your parents did because of this trauma that's stored inside. Now, I know for myself, I grew up in a very brutal household. And it was violent. There was emotional abuse, mental abuse, physical abuse, and ultimately sexual abuse. And of course, as a little child, I was never given a manual how to deal with that. And so I just shut down inside. Now, obviously, when I became an adult, I was aware that there was a lot of work I was going to have to do on myself. And so I went into the whole field after I got out of university and then grad school of complementary medicine, learning everything I could about healing, emotionally, physically, on all levels of being. And when I was in New York City, I went through 7 years of what I would call talk therapy. And of course, I knew all about the physical abuse and the mental and emotional abuse I'd undergone. And so we talked about it. But I didn't know at the time that talking about something doesn't heal you. All it does is concretize your story of me and my pain, me and my trauma. And so even though I went through all of this and I came to understand what my parents had gone through and why my mother was the way she was, and I'd come to accept it all and came to a place of myself, well, I've got this handled. The last thing I ever expected to have happen was when I turned 39 years old, I ended up being diagnosed with a basketball-sized tumor. And part of the gift of my healing journey and being diagnosed with that was, it was almost like a download from grace. I found a means for all of us to go on a journey inside your bodies and to literally, in a practical, verifiable way, get access to these old buried cell memories and to go through a deep process of release and letting go and understanding, ultimately forgiveness. So when new cells are born, they're born devoid of that old consciousness as new regenerative cells. And so I healed from that tumor in only 6.5 weeks' time. And one of the things that was crazy, I can remember this as if it were yesterday. I remember I was 3 weeks into my healing journey. And at that point, I knew all about cellular healing and what was possible, because there was a lot of work going on in the field of cellular healing, even in 1992, when I got diagnosed with this big tumor. And I was at the cutting edge of what was happening in the field of complementary medicine and alternative healing. But at that time, no one had a method. And so even though I understood all the science, I understood how these cell memories got buried inside the body. And I'd read a lot of the case studies. There was Dr. Deepak Chopra at that time. He was a chief surgeon general in a hospital in Boston. And he decided to do a radical thing as a medical doctor. He decided he would investigate and do research and gather case studies of people who had healed without drugs or surgery. And the reason he said is we already know what the symptoms are that ultimately lead to serious illness and lead to death. We already know enough about what causes death. I want to know what makes people heal when they've not been given any drugs or any surgery. And so he amassed hundreds and ultimately in time, thousands of case studies of people who had experienced what is medically called spontaneous healing. And after reading all these case studies, he could find that people only had 2 things in common. One was that through some act of grace or spontaneous event, they actually got access to this that he called the infinite intelligence, the part of you that makes your eyes shine and your hair grow and your heart beat. So somehow spontaneously, people got access to this that I call source. The second quality that they had in common is somehow spontaneously, they actually got access to that old repressed cell memory. And if somehow they spontaneously went through some process of release or letting go, when new cells were born, they were born devoid of that old consciousness as new regenerative cells. So I knew all this. When I got diagnosed, I'd studied and knew all of this. But you can know and understand all the science on the planet. You can read all the statistics and even read, as I did, the actual case studies. But unless you have a method, it is no more than a bunch of science and inspirational words on a page. And that's where I stood when I was medically diagnosed with this basketball-sized tumor. And I spent 3 weeks after the diagnosis, and I did everything I knew how to do in the whole healing and health field. I went on to a cleanse. I went on to 100% fresh and raw fruits and vegetables. I got colonics every other day. I did herbs for cleansing, homeopathics. I got cranial visceral massage. I got acupuncture. I was doing everything, homeopathics. I mean, I was doing everything that was available out there, NLP, you name it, medical hypnosis. I was doing all of it. And I was 3 weeks into my healing journey, and I was looking radiantly healthy. And my stomach was still stretched as hard as a rock and taut like a drum. And I went up to go see a special massage therapist up in Berkeley. And I'll never forget this moment. I was lying on the massage table, and it was as if my whole professional life as a therapist came crumbling around me. I was expert and accredited in so many different fields, and nothing had worked. And inside, I felt myself to be an out and out, an abject failure. And something inside of me stopped fighting. And I just gave up. Now, the massage therapist is massaging me. She doesn't know what's going on inside of me. But when I let go, I fell into a feeling of deep despair, hopelessness, a feeling that maybe I'd never find the answer. Maybe there was no way to heal. And something inside of me didn't fight it. I just surrendered and let go. And I ended up falling into a field of nothingness. Just this nothing everywhere that was very still. And something inside of me just surrendered wholly in that. And I ended up falling into a presence of scintillating light. Presence of peace. I didn't have a name for what it was, of innocence, but it was permeating everything. And as I was resting in that presence, a prayer arose. Please, somehow let me be guided to heal. And even though I didn't believe an answer would come, spontaneously, I was guided directly into that tumor. And as soon as the cell memory arose, it was a memory of childhood abuse. I thought, it can't be this memory. I know all about this memory. I've been there, done that, got the t-shirt on this blooming memory of childhood abuse. Been through years of therapy on it, been through all different kinds of Avery alternative kind of emotional work available. It can't be this cell memory. And internally, my mind, my arrogant mind who knew better, was saying that. But my body and my heart were saying, well, you've got nothing to lose by at least trying, attempting to release what's here. And I went through a process of what felt like releasing and letting go and speaking out internally in my mind what I never got a chance to say at that time. And I ended up in the same place of acceptance that I'd been at for years. And I asked the peace that was surrounding me, am I complete? And the simple word no arose. And again, I was plunged into despair. And I thought, I don't even believe it's the right memory. I know all about that memory. And even if it is, I don't have a clue how to complete. And something just gave up again. And I surrendered. And once again fell in the omnipresence of this innocence of peace. I didn't have a name for it. And another prayer arose, just the words, how to complete. I didn't expect an answer. The most unexpected moment, the word forgiveness arose. I thought, how can that possibly make a difference? I've already long come to a place of acceptance, and my arrogant therapist thinking mind that knows everything thinks what a load of bullshit that is. My mind is saying that. But my heart is saying, you've got nothing to lose by forgiving. And so I opened my heart, and it hurt to forgive. Because unknowingly, as a therapist, I'd put myself on my own self-made pedestal. And here I am, a victim of all this abuse and sexual and physical, mental, emotional abuse. And I'd so long come to a place of acceptance. And I had to give up this noble identity that I'd created and face down over 30 years of pride. Oh, dressed up as compassionate and understanding. And it hurt to face down that much pride. But something inside of me opened wide. And when I forgave, it was with all my heart. And it was while I was forgiving that I realized that tumor, that trauma has never been clinging to me. I've been clinging to it. And I realized in that moment that through forgiveness, my entire story of being a victim of all this trauma was finally over. Now, I ended up doing 3 more journey-style processes, and it was 6.5 weeks later that I finally ended up in Cedars-Sinai Hospital. And they took 36 pictures of my uterus, and the doctor pronounced me textbook perfect clean, completely tumor-free. And so this work originally was born from my own direct experience. Now, that was over 30 years ago that took place. And over the 30 years of working with hundreds of thousands of people around the world, and working with medical doctors, psychiatrists, psychologists, and people from all walks of life, I've seen what works and what doesn't work. And one of the things that deeply works is this willingness to just be present and open with what's stored inside your body. Most of us have learned, feel an emotion, shut it down. Feel an emotion, smoke it away. Feel an emotion, drink it away. Feel an emotion, substance. Feel an emotion, get on Facebook, get onto reading, surfing the web, call a friend, anything but actually feeling the emotion. And yet in that moment that will sweep it away, that's when the biochemistry is being released. And it's getting stored in our bodies as cell memory. Now, one woman was asking, she said, well, would you re-traumatize yourself? Absolutely not with the journey. Re-traumatization would mean that you'd have to feel that strong emotion and at the peak of it, shut it down again. And go through this process of allowing the biochemistry to shut down. With the journey, we don't shut down our emotions. Instead, we softly welcome them. We open, we listen to our bodies, and we find ourselves in a place of acceptance of what is stored here. And so I cannot take you through the full teaching. It's a 3-day journey intensive that you can do online that really is a deep immersion where you're learning all the journey skills and getting a chance to practice it one-to-one with another person with the support of journey practitioners from around the world. And that's something we can't do in these 3 sessions that we're doing here. But perhaps we can begin to take some baby steps towards listening to our bodies, towards opening. And one thing I've learned over the years, your body will never give you something you're not ready to face. If it shows up, it means you're ready. If it doesn't show up, then this is not the time for the meeting and the facing of it. Your body, the infinite intelligence of your soul, it knows what you're ready to face. It has a certain sequence that you're meant to clear your issues in. I can remember I was on my 60th birthday, and my sister, who has her PhD in oncology research, she came to my 60th birthday, and she said to me, do you remember that time when you were 16 years old? And Mom used to come in at night with a butcher knife, saying she was going to stab you in your sleep. It had never come up for me. The trauma was too extreme, and I'd completely blocked it out, unknowingly. And as soon as she said it, it all came up. And she said to me she had kept what she called her blue book. My sister was 5 years younger than me, and she watched all the violence happening to me. And so she kept a journal and wrote it all down because she was sure I was going to be killed. We slept in the same bedroom together. And she wanted to be able to give the judge her diary to show what she had witnessed. And I finally saw the blue book at the age of 60 years old. So one of the things I'm crystal clear about is you can relax in doing the journey, that over the years, gently, it uncovers what you're ready to let go of, what you're ready to unveil, what you're ready to face and free yourself from, what you're ready to forgive, what you're ready to heal. So even though I cannot take you through the whole in-depth immersion that the journey intensive is, I'd like us to start our journey with trauma by taking us into a guided introspection, a gentle one, where we can begin to listen to our bodies, begin to soften our bodies instead of bracing against life, fighting against life, and putting up walls and armor. We can begin to soften that armor and begin this journey of listening to the body and what it has to say to all of us. So if you'd like to join me, and we'll just do this as a divine experiment, let's all together take a nice deep breath in and sighing it out and closing your eyes and taking a deep breath in of openness and just breathing that openness into the room. And the willingness just to explore and open with whatever the body wants to reveal, knowing that the body will only reveal what you're ready to meet and open with and face. So breathing that willingness into your room and trust. Trust in yourself. Trust that your soul, your own heart, has said to you, come to this little mini workshop. Open. You have nothing to lose but some old baggage and everything to gain by beginning this journey in healing with your heart, your body, and your being. And so breathing trust in yourself. Your soul wants you to heal. That's why you're sitting here watching this. Trust that. Trusting in life. Breathing that trust into the room. And letting your heart be as wide as the world. Wide enough to welcome whatever's here that the body wishes to reveal. That's how vast this vast open sky of all acceptance is. And it's spacious and vast and free and endless in front of you. It's boundlessly spacious and vast and free behind you. Your own awareness is infinitely spacious and vast to all sides of you. And you're just resting here in this ocean of presence. And let's go to our body right now. And you know the body, without knowing, it involuntarily, automatically braces against life. And we create walls and armor, both internally and externally. And so before we go into this process, it's important just to give permission to your body to relax now. Smoothing your forehead and softening the corners of the eyes, relaxing your facial muscles, and release the grip of the jaw. So often we grip our jaw tightly as we defend against life, brace against it, armor against it, and just softening and releasing the grip of the jaw, softening the corners of the mouth, softening the throat and the neck muscles, letting them become loose and free, like spaghetti noodles. As a child, I was so good at choking back my tears. No one was going to see those tears. And I choked them all back. As an adult with the journey, I've learned to soften my throat and let my body know it's allowed to feel whatever's here. And so often, as I do this relaxing of the throat muscles, the unshed tears that I was not able to shed as a child come up. And so softening your throat, as if you're giving yourself permission just to feel, and relaxing the shoulders. So many of us, all of us, carry such a big burden of responsibility, and just feeling like some force of nature or angels are coming in and lift that responsibility off your shoulders, and just softening your shoulders, and then softening the chest area. I know so many times as an adult, I thought I was being hard open. But when I went out to my chest area, there's a way in which I unknowingly was defending against getting hurt again. And I was armoring my heart. It was like I'd put a door in front of my heart. And so gently right now, just softening the whole heart area and choosing to gently open the door to your own heart and breathing life force in to the heart area. And with the out breath, just releasing what's here to be released and breathing into the heart area. Molecules of light, of grace. And with the out breath, just releasing what's here to be released and softening now the solar plexus area and the belly, and as if you're opening the door to the whole front of your body. Molecules, billions of molecules with your name on them that have been knocking at your door your whole life. Open the front of your body and let that life force, that grace, that light, molecules of grace flood into all your organs. And with the out breath, releasing what's here to be released. And like waves of the ocean, just flooding into your whole torso. Light, grace, health, healing. And with the out breath, just releasing what's here to be released and letting it flood into the pelvic region and breathing that in. And with the out breath, releasing what's here to be released and into the backside and the hip area, and just breathing that life force, that grace, the molecules of healing in. And with the out breath, releasing what's here to be released. And again, opening the legs, the knees, the feet, just opening the doors, all the armor starting to come down, breathing that life force in. And with the out breath, releasing what's here to be released, and just letting the whole body just be wide open. And sometimes this bracing against life, this armoring, this defending against life can feel like so much like a wall that's in front of us that we're bracing against. And imagine that that wall right now is crumbling, turning into gravel, turning into dust, being swept out of the room. And if the body is the armor, opening the front door of that armor and the back door of that armor, the side doors, take the masks off and let the whole suit of pseudo armor drop to the ground now and be swept out of the room. And you're just left as open exposure to your own self. And the self is realized to be vast and open, spacious and free in front of you, boundlessly vast and spacious behind, and free and endless to all sides of you. And just resting here in this vast, open sky of all acceptance. And now let's turn our gaze inside the body. And all of us have areas where we feel a little contraction or tension or heldness or tightness. And just right now, locating a part of your body inside where you feel that contraction, where you feel that tightness, that heldness. And taking a deep breath in of openness and acceptance, and breathing that into that area where the tightness is, and just flooding that area with acceptance and openness. And if there were a feeling hiding there, I wonder what that feeling might be. And just welcoming whatever's here or whatever's not here. Just breathing acceptance into that area, letting it soften and be tenderized and marinated. Or if this area could speak and had words, what would it say right now? And as you listen to the words, how do they make you feel emotionally? Give this area a voice. If it could speak and had words, what would it say right now? Or perhaps a picture is just arising out of that area. If there is a picture, step into it. How are you feeling in the picture? Just welcoming whatever's here, whatever's not here, and taking a deep breath in of acceptance and flooding this area with acceptance. You already know this, that our bodies are like containers full of all kinds of emotions. And you know, our emotions, they're like little kids. Some are loud and attention-seeking, and some are shy and scared. Some of our feelings, we've rejected them and pushed them away and shut them down so many times that, like a little kid, they don't even come up anymore. They're too scared of being rejected again. So welcoming all the feelings that live here inside of you. And you might even say to them that you're sorry for having pushed them away, that you're willing to listen today. You're willing to be present. And so welcome all the feelings that live inside of you. And then locating another area in your body where there might be a little tension or stress or holding or hiding or contraction going on. Locate that area right now. Take in a deep breath in of openness and acceptance. And now flooding that area with acceptance, letting it soften and be marinated and tenderized and opened up. And if there were a feeling starting to arise out of this area, I wonder what this feeling might be. It might be quiet as a whisper. But if there were a feeling, what might it be? If this area could speak and had words, what would it say to you right now? Give it a voice. And as you listen to the words, how do they make you feel emotionally? Or perhaps pictures here. If there is a picture, step into it. How are you feeling in that picture? Or perhaps there's a lid that you've put over this area. There is a lid, and let's assume that there is. Take hold of it as if taking hold of a can of peanuts where you peel back the lid, and take hold of the lid right now and lift it off. What's hiding here? How does that make you feel? Just welcoming whatever's here and whatever's not here also. Taking a nice deep breath in and flooding this area with your own acceptance. And now coming to neutral inside of yourself. And you might like to make a promise, if it feels appropriate, to start this process of inner listening, the willingness to be present, the willingness to feel. And taking a nice deep breath in, letting it out. And once again, the heart is as wide as the world. Wide enough to welcome all the emotions that live here inside of you. And as vast and spacious, endless, free in front, open and vast behind, spacious to all sides. And we're just resting here. This vast, open sky of all acceptance. Taking another nice deep breath in, letting it out. And when the eyes are ready, you can open them into this presence. And opening the eyes now. And so even though we could not go through the in-depth teaching and immersion that a journey intensive is, what I'm praying that this session will have started you in taking baby steps towards establishing this friendship with your own body and with your own heart, this willingness to listen and be present to what the body is revealing, knowing the body will never give you something that you're not ready to face. So trusting that and taking another nice deep breath in and letting it out. And so tomorrow, we're going to be going deeper into this whole teaching of trauma, how it occurs, what takes place, and the next day as well. So you can have some tools to go on your own healing journey with the trauma that lives in the body. And so I'm going to turn you back over to Gabby, who can share with you how to continue with this little immersion that we're having over 3 days' time. And I thank you with all my heart for sharing your beautiful stories and for being willing just to do this little divine experiment here, where we began this little toe dip into beginning to communicate with our body, open to our emotions, and the willingness to begin this journey in opening to the traumas that live here. So, a heartfelt namaste.
Thank you so much, Brandon, for sharing this with us, your own personal stories, and also sharing some of the stories that we saw on Facebook. And so many more shares have arrived today. So I'm absolutely so deeply grateful for everyone. And, you know, from the exercise or from the introspection that Brandon just did with us, it would be wonderful if you use this Facebook group for us to just share, because somebody said I'm emotional. It's okay, you know, to be emotional is okay. And if emotions show up, to be aware of where in the body it is. So we did say we have, you know, daily focus and homework. And why don't we just do that, to really take some time to be aware, to make sure we're listening to what our body is telling us, and then we can release and dive deeper, as we will do tomorrow. Tomorrow, my colleague Daniel Wagner will be joining me as well. I believe he is here. If he is, maybe he can turn his camera on. But let's use the Facebook group to continue to share with each other. You know, if you haven't been here live and you're catching up with us, please feel yourself as part of the group. Daniel will bring also a little bit of science into the session for tomorrow. Hello, Daniel. Lovely to see you here.
Hello, Gabi. Could be a surprise. I was a guest hiding in the background. Thank you, Brandon, for a tremendous session and you know, sharing from your own experience. The main thing I took away is that we need to define, first of all, what is trauma, and the understanding that Brandon has of 30 years experience really helps people. You know, tomorrow we're going to go deeper into not just what trauma is, which Brandon defined today, but in which other areas of life it shows up. And as Gabi said, I'm a bit of a nervous system nerd, so I got into the science how to regulate nervous system, which is often in trauma response. We're in so without going any deep science, we're gonna hopefully share some real value for people to take away from these sessions. So you and I, Gabi, tomorrow and the day after. I look forward to that.
Great. And the way I would like to end today's session here is, you know, what I'm aware of, we're all hearing so much about trauma. Social media is absolutely bursting and overflowing with everything what trauma is. And there are very few modalities that actually have the tools to help us to become free. And the journey is one that should really be on the very, very top. And as I shared with you at the beginning, all the beautiful testimonials we heard from people, they probably, when they started their work, didn't even know it was trauma at the bottom of it. But every time when we shut down, when something happens that we're not capable of dealing with, then this trauma gets stored inside our body. And there is a possibility to allow, in a very healthy and gentle way, to free that trauma and to clear it out completely. And so we'll do more. Our homework, our daily focus is, please stay open. Do what you can. Take time for introspection. This session is now on Facebook and it will stay there. So if you want to do the meditation again with Brandon, to become more familiar with your body, please do it. We're so quickly to shut down. We're so quickly to cover up. Stay open and listen. And if there is discomfort, it's okay. You know, resting in discomfort for an hour or a few minutes is really not a big deal. But carrying the bag of trauma and old issues that we weren't able to release for decades, for all of our life, that is not okay. And especially not okay when there is something that we can clear it out with completely. So I very much look forward to seeing you here tomorrow. Please come and join us. Share what came up, what you uncovered. What did you uncover when Brandon took you through the guided introspection? Share it with us on Facebook. Both Daniel and I and our team are actively with you in the Facebook group. And so if any questions come up, we'll be there to answer them. Thank you so much for joining us. I'll see you tomorrow. Namaste, God bless, good night, good morning, good afternoon, wherever in the world you are. Thank you with all my heart. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, and see you tomorrow.
See you. Thank you, Daniel.
My biggest win with the journey was being able to access my deepest emotions and free myself from them. I feel more calm and serene.
I found my true calling, and now today I can help others. I love to make an impact. I love to see transformation in others' lives.
For years and years, I used to feel very lonely, and now I just feel a part of everything. I feel I'm alive.
My biggest win with joining the practitioner program is owning my own life back and stepping out of a severe PTSD.
The acceptance of myself and the self-love, so I don't need others to love me. That's perfectly okay.
Life is different now because of joining the journey, because I just live in so much abundance. You know, I get up every day with a joy for living. I want to go to work. I want to meet other people.
My biggest win was the really deep knowing I actually do have the answers. They are within me.
There is a lot more certainty and openness into where I'm heading and how I'm feeling about things.
I feel more connected to life. It's not an easy path for anyone to do healing work, but it's profound.
One, I'm more balanced. Two, I'm more grateful for those persons who helped me in this life. I enrich my life every day with this wisdom.
It's priceless. There's no better, bigger investment we can do in time, money, or energy.
I was a mess before I started with this work, and I healed from lots of different types of abuse, and that's a miracle.
My life now, because of the journey, is transformed. I have confidence, even if I struggle. It's just I have to let go. It's step after step, and it's no danger at the end.
My biggest win is myself. It doesn't have to be anything else. You can be fulfilled even if you only have yourself.
It's more peaceful. I've learned to process emotions. I learned to be more self-aware, and I've learned when you need to ask for help.
I've been able to have a really deep, long, soulful look at myself, and I've been able to uncover, recover, and heal long-term wounds.
My biggest win being a journey practitioner has been becoming a therapist and a healer, because that's what I never imagined it to be.
I'm living from a place of freedom and choice. I'm really conscious in every moment. Any sentence I say, it's coming from just pure goodness.
I feel more authentic, wearing much less of a mask. It's about being you and feeling good about it.
I can embrace all that is. I'm here to share my life, my joy. Now I can just be me.
My own journey of healing from cancer is an inspiration for others. I get to work with amazing people, see amazing transformations in their life.
My biggest win is to be yourself. Just be there for other people, to help other people heal, and just to be there.
I know that no matter what comes,
I have the right instrument to deal with whatever emotions every situation will bring to me.
It really has helped me come back to a place of wholeness. I feel like completely authentic. I feel genuine. I feel like I'm in my body.
My big win is my courage and my physical healing, my emotional healing. But in one word, I could say freedom.
The journey is all about releasing all of the emotions that create the illness. I was healed physically within 6 weeks while I had been in pain over 3.5 years.